So I hope you enjoyed my video last week, which was about whether there is life on other planets, and I looked at some of the scientific ideas there. Today I want to look a little bit more into this idea of, can psychics contact aliens? So last time I talked all about is it likely that there's life on other planets, and I put a few of the scientific ideas to you too there, you'll remember. So now I'm talking about a bit more about, you know, whether psychics can communicate with life on other planets, because, you know, it's a possibility, isn't it? Because if people would say to me, Craig, well, you know, you do this mediumship and you communicate with people in the afterlife. I mean, if consciousness, you know, awareness is somehow universal, as I quite often say in my books, like my book Messages from the Universe, I'll tell you about it now because all my ideas are in here if you're interested in these things. I talk about the whole idea of consciousness and the extent of consciousness. I talk a bit about the planets and things there, and about some of the things I feel about these things. But you know, if mediums like myself, when we do our readings, can give proof of life after death, why not also be able to give proof of life on other planets? You know, so that's kind of the theme that I'm looking at here today. So far as I feel, there's no real definitive proof yet, is there, that there's life on other planets. It's not common knowledge that there's life on other planets. We can't say categorically that ET has contacted us and we all know about it. You know, of course there's the idea that maybe they have contacted us either in the distant past, like this idea of ancient aliens, or have contacted us recently, and we found the we found UFO artifacts and they're all hidden away in Area 51 and this sort of thing, and in Russia and places like that. You know, it perhaps is a big cover-up going on, and people are talking about, we want disclosure about this, we want to know for certain. But you know, there's so much also tied up with state secrets there that it's very difficult, because as soon as you start to put in place this idea of they're not telling us, you know, we start to get into a dangerous situation, I think, because as soon as there's a big don't know, you know, everybody's imagination pours in to fill it in with their own ideas. And every person on earth, whether it be some teenager in his bedroom or some nutty psychic in his library, can put their two penn'orth worth in, and you end up with kind of, I've got to say, it's a bit of a mass hysteria. It's like one person reinforces another's ideas until you start to believe that that is the only model. You know, it can happen with anything, not just UFOs. It can happen with an ideology, when it happens with in politics, and things go mad in politics and you get a dangerous ideology. It happened with Nazism, for example. Everybody starts to think that's the way you should behave. You know, these people are subhumans. You know, and it becomes common knowledge that that's the case. You know, madness. You know, so it's like, this is what happened. The dangers of what I call a mass hysteria, mass consciousness. There's a thing such as mass consciousness. So there's no sort of empirical proof yet that that we've had contact with aliens. There's lots of people saying, yeah, like David Icke, you know, he's an interesting speaker. He's got some very brilliant mind, I think. But I think he takes it too far with some of the ideas, because again, you kind of fill in ideas, you know, that maybe if there had been a contact, and I'm going to talk about this later, but I think there was some form of contact in the past, and it may have had a kind of reptilian type of nature to it from what I've seen. But you know, but the thing is, we can get carried away and start saying there's been a takeover and that we're all living in some kind of matrix type thing and living in a delusion. We could be, we don't know. But the problem is, when there's so many unknowns and there's not any way of proving one way or the other, people get carried away, as it does happen in my own field within spiritualism. You know, some people get absolutely carried away with ideas and fantasies, but with no proof of it, you see. So I don't want to get too sucked into this whole thing about speculation. You know, I let others do that. You can speculate, and I just can only really talk from what my limited, I suppose, personal experience is, although I also have quite wide experience, particularly as a medium for all my life, and particularly having spent many, many years investigating the secrets of India. So my interest in spiritualism and my interest in the secret oracles of India are kind of give me a qualification to talk about this in some respects. So, but as a medium, it's been proven to me that consciousness, awareness, whatever we call that, can exist outside of the human body. I mean, it happens every time you do a telepathic communication with someone in a reading. And I know that it can happen over long distances too, because if I do a reading for somebody and they've called me from China, which happens, or from Hong Kong particularly, and from Australia and from America, and I'm based in the UK, you know, the clairvoyance is just as clear as if they were sat in the room with me. And it's a strange thing, because it seems that this clairvoyance kind of works over any distance. And I don't think it's kind of telepathy in the idea that it's like a wave that goes between us, like a signal, like a radio signal. I think it's something different. I think we connect to some sort of I called it a mycelium, but even that's a distracting word. It's like we connect to a level of reality where we're perfectly connected, where time and distance don't seem to make any difference. Okay, so if it can work when I'm communicating, given a psychic reading for someone, like I can say to someone, you know, you've just painted your house green. You know, and, oh yes, how did you know that? You know, because I've seen it, because I connected with you. Or I get a message from the spirit world saying your grandmother used to be a fishmonger. How did you know that? Because I've got the spirit connection with the spirit world. Then why shouldn't it also be the case that somehow my mind could connect with people on other planets, other consciousnesses elsewhere outside of the earth? Because it does appear that mediumship and clairvoyance is not dependent upon distance. You know, even ESP tests have been done across long distances and country to country, and even the Apollo space mission, they took some Zener cards with them there and did an unauthorized experiment, has to be said, with telepathy with people sat on Earth. Things got a bit messed up, I believe, because of the time sequencing of the scheduling, but you know, they seem to get some interesting results. So it could be that telepathy, that spirit communication, that clairvoyance, whatever we want to give the overall name for it all, can work over any distance. So why not also with other planets? Now, the only evidence I've seen for this has been crackpots. You know, I've sat with people who claim to be mediums, but they can't give any evidence like Jane and myself give when we do a reading for someone. They can't sort of give those sort of, your grandmother did this and your father was this and that. They just sort of give vagaries, and yet they can suddenly go into a trance and give clear messages from aliens. But the problem is the alien messages that I've seen tend to be squeaky voices full of misconceptions of stuff that you must have seen on the latest sci-fi program, you know. And frankly, it was nonsense, and some of it was scary because it was so stupid. You know, those squeaky voices. We are coming to you to help you. You know, all this sort of thing. And you know, I can't handle that. You know, so you have to look at that and think, oh, sorry, yeah, go lock her up. You know, because there's no evidence. That's the problem. And how do we give evidence that if a communication has been made, you know, an intelligent person might be able to make a communication and give these trance readings, but at the same time they could be deluded, couldn't they? We don't know. We have to have some proof. That's why any of us that do mediumship have to give the proof. So this is the problem I have. Can we communicate in such a way that we can get something that can give us some proof? Now, if an alien person was to contact us, maybe they could give us a mathematical sequence of something, you know, that only an advanced scientist might know, you know. And there is the problem, of course, that the medium's mind may not be able to comprehend that information or be able to convey it. And this is one of the questions. They say, why don't people from the spirit world tell us something that is life-changing for the earth? And my argument would often be, well, that might change the karma of the world in such a way that we can't do that. It breaks the laws of nature. So there's lots of arguments for and against. So that's really, I think I'm going to leave it there actually for now, because one more thing actually, because another thing about this business with the spirits communicating through mediums, in the early days of spiritualism, we had all sorts of communications that were verifiable, fantastic evidence that was given, particularly in the physical mediumship things, and some of the trance mediumship. So it always had this evidential mediumship with it, so we could prove that it was real, you know, not just people talking and giving philosophical speculation, but it was real stuff because they could give verifiable facts. And but spiritualism didn't come up, as far as I'm aware, with anything from alien beings. They didn't give messages from Mars and things like that. But nowadays, it all kind of started to happen when people started to give trance messages from other beings on other planets. It started when TV became in everybody's room, and we all started watching sci-fi programs, and we could start watching and reading the comic strips and the Superman stories and all the rest of it, and that kind of burst onto the field. We started to get communications from these things from outer space. But why didn't we get trance communications earlier in history, in the early days of spiritualism, maybe back even before? Okay, so my question is there, you know, what's happened, why not? But maybe we have, you know, maybe I have too without even realizing it, and I'll talk about that in the next video. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you're interested in all this, go and get my book, Messages from the Universe. It is a good read, even though I push it to you, because I've got lots of other books I've written, but that's the one I like best, on these type of subjects anyway. And if you enjoy the channel, obviously follow us, click that little bell thing, and remember that if you want a message from the universe, or from the spirit world, or from about your life, that we do readings on the website. You can get readings with myself, or you can get readings with my team of readers, who you can do this. We got, you know, can just have a short reading for a low price. You know, particularly if you're a new purchaser of those services, you can get some very good deals at the moment. But anyway, so thank you for supporting my website, to those guys out there, and thank you for supporting my books. It allows me to do this type of channel, you know, and also thank you for supporting this channel if you just watch it. Okay, and share it with your friends and share it with your Facebook groups. Okay, stay happy, stay aware, see you next time. Bye for now.